Greetings and salutations, all you beautiful individuals. It is another epi of League Unlocked. Eric and Mark here with you guys, and let me tell you, things move fast in the LCK, in the, I was almost going to say off-season. We are fully mid-season, folks, and within the same week, within like 48 hours of Diable being benched, he's no longer even on the team for BNK as the rumors came up, and then like 12 hours later, he's off to Nongshim. Taeyun coming over to BFX, which begs the question, is he actually toxic? Is it not enough for Nongshim to be alarmed? They're just hoping that the veterans can keep this young man in line, I guess?
Well, you can be forgiven for thinking that it was an off-season type of move, because this is the level of move that you would have had to see in the off-season, yet we have seen this situation unravel itself in very short order at this point, because yes, BFK has made the move away from Diable at this point, and especially moving off of it in such short order at this point seems to have been that this is a very urgent decision that had to be made for this team to try and find any type of resurrection of this season for them.
Yeah, and again, we've had statements from them. We know that missing the fan meet was the big thing. And of course, remember, this fan meet was at the T1 homestand, which kind of holds extra weight to have people traveling out there. And it's a much bigger event than a normal LCK thing. And now we're hearing that the aftermath of that was also the big issue. There was no kind of taking accountability out of Diable or, feeling bad about how things went. So that was enough to ship him off. And again, not enough to deter Nongshim. And I mean, the positive side of things, having these veteran players around him should help, line him up more. We're getting a Lehens Diable bot lane, which is pretty fun. But this is now the opportunity and kind of a make or break moment for Diable in terms of not just how he performs on the Rift, but what his attitude and mentality is going to be on this new roster, because it's an opportunity for him to prove that he can still be a great teammate.
Lesser players have had their careers absolutely stalled or derailed completely by an event, something like this, and a situation like this. So yeah, it is absolutely, I think, make or break right now for Diable, and which is a crazy type of sentence to be saying for what has been one of the most exciting, one of the hottest up and coming players within the LCK system. So to make the, having things kind of derail themselves already at this point with how things have gone since that first split and where we were and where we were talking about his progression and growth and everything else. And now this is the story and everything that you're talking about. There is an avenue. This is still a win-win. And I will say that, and I mean, you can even go the triple route, the win-win-win type of one, where we're having three parties winning in this one. You can have it where, yes, moving away from a player like Diable in this point, in the situation that could have, again, with the fans, with the players there and everything else that was around, you have to move off of a situation like that, and that you are, no matter what, in almost any situation, good or bad on who the replacement is, you're better by having that situation, that everything else around it removed from what you have to do. For Nongshim, you're getting a very exciting young player, and especially pairing him alongside the hands down in that bottom lane is a power option that you would have loved to have had, and one of these ones where I think a player like Diable is something that you couldn't have envisioned being able to snag up in free agency or anything else like that. So it is a big win for Nongshim and for Diable himself. It is that win because it is a good landing spot for someone like him, which again, given the situation, given everything that played out, is almost something that you can't ask for at that type of situation and where you are. So to be kind of lucky that things lined up the way that they did, that this is where you are as your landing spot, is a win as well.
And I mean, talk about, in terms of standing wise, kind of failing upwards if you're Diable, right? Obviously, Nongshim's ahead of BNK, and the complication and how quickly this stuff was moving. Now we're hearing that the DN Supers was BNK's first choice for where Diable was going to end up. There were rumored they were going to get a prospect from DNS, who's one of the top guys in the challenger scene. But because Diable is still considered a minor and under 20, there's some clause within the LCK that you can essentially veto where you're going, and unbelievable that young guys have that no trade clause. Essentially, in traditional sports, it's usually these rookie contracts where you are completely at the mercy of the team and have no power.
It's wild. You learn something new every day type of situation, learning about the contract and trading type of situation in the LCK, which, to be fair to lots of people, we don't really see a lot of trades going on
No,
within League of Legends. It isn't really a very commonplace thing. It's,
especially in
yes,
the LCK, they're like, it happens in the off season, right? Nothing
yeah,
else.
and we've certainly seen the free agency swapping of player and team type of thing line up, but never quite exactly as direct as what is a trade and full on swapping of players between those organizations. So that's something new. And yes, in any other traditional sport, and I would think even in esports around the world, you usually lean towards something of, okay, you achieve this set amount of service time, this amount of time at this type of level, yeah, you get these type of rewards, these type of preferential treatments for a veteran player. I can see an avenue where you talk about this and you do want to put in those protections or power for players like Diable being in a rookie type of situation or inexperienced, youthful situation. But man, oh man, I don't think I've ever seen this in any situation.
And I'm not sure I've seen a quicker fall from grace to have BNK go on this incredible run, get to first stand, and now they're 100% going to be in the Rise group and maybe fade into irrelevance. They've now just become probably a trivia question for who was the other team alongside Gen.G going to first stand in 2026.
Which was already going to be a concern for this team. You were worried about whether it would be a massive drop off or could you maintain, could you be competitive all the way through what would be a rising, a growing talent in the LCK. I think the answer has been a little bit darker, having it go down this type of pathway and to lose now and have to make a pivot move off of what was a corner franchise stone piece right there in Diablo and what you would build around him and his growth in that bot lane as an ADC superstar in the LCK. That's no longer on the table. And frankly, again, the fact that it's no longer on the table and you had to make this type of move, and I'm calling it a good move, a win for the team, really goes to say just what type of, wild and weird, wacky type of disruption this has been for the team, and to the significant level that you have to respond to something like this, even with a rising star player in Diablo.
And how about such a quick turnaround? They're already on the Rift, and Slayer has to make his debut for the squad. Actually had some solid moments against D plus Kia, even though they ended up pretty swiftly getting 2-0 because Lucid was on Lee Sin, and that's an automatic win. And the question is answered as soon as Diable is gone. Vikla gets back into that starting mid lane, which means I think it's safe to say there was a lot more going on behind the scenes than just this missed fan meet.
It's one of those ones where you've got the missed fan meet, you get a little bit of information here or there about some of the situation that was going on, even more so around it, and then again, little things that you can kind of read between the lines of what you have heard and what you see out there on Summoner's Rift and what goes on with the team. And you're right, Vikla back in that lineup and playing, yeah, that's a pretty big indication of what was happening behind the scenes, given the rumors that we know. So, you see that one, and yes, you do see quickly Slayer getting that start and how quickly things have pivoted off of it. And it was, a stronger showing, I think, than what we have seen in the last 2 weeks or so of it. But is it strong enough to contend in the LCK? Is it strong enough to be in that type of territory that you found yourself in the first split? Unfortunately, no.
Yeah, it's going to be battling for the Fry's crown is kind of the best case scenario for BNK heading into the next split, as they can't wait for this round 1 to 2 of this tournament in the LCK to be over fast enough, because everything has come off the track for this BNK roster so quickly, again, from that hype that we got at first stand. People were anticipating this happening. There were rumors around it, blah, blah, blah. So it's not a big surprise that he's going to Nongshim. More so out of the blue is getting mid-season moves in the LCS on a team that's started 3-1 and are the defending champs, as now we're hearing Lyon Gaming will be moving on from Dhokla. It sounds like he's going to be playing this weekend's games, which makes it even more weird. But then he's going to be benched, and SRTTY, Surty, going to be starting the last 2 weekend games for Lyon Gaming. And even that is just a placeholder for the inevitable, you guessed it, LCK Challenger top laner. Yet another one to come over to the LCS.
And this is unfortunate on the wild scale of things to talk about right now. Crazy that we were even talking about Lyon Dhokla in the first place, because this was supposed to be lined up as Zamudo finally getting his opportunity in the LCS. And of course, visa situation doesn't play out, and who comes to the rescue but Mr. Dhokla, again stepping off of the sideline type of situation into a starting position, finds himself on a successful LCS team, and is, by the way, part of that success and why it is achieved in that place, and is getting found once again going, yep, thank you, Mr. Dhokla, move on to the side. But even stranger than all that, which is still not exactly the best situation, we're moving into where SRTTY is getting these starts in again, not this weekend, but the next weekends after that type of situation. And nope, thank you for your service and time, because we are moving on to an LCK import, stepping on into this spot. What a journey that will be for Lyon Gaming. And unfortunately, it's a story not exactly in the specific layout, but it's a story you've heard before as LCS fans, and that is disappointing.
Yeah, and I think this obviously comes as a bit of a shock, surprise, but I think the writing was maybe actually on the wall, or there were lead-ups to this. You had earlier this month Berserker doing a hilarious tweet with Twisted Fate, who has a green card, meaning he got his NA residency, which means I bet you immediately after that, Lyon was going, okay, great, so we can replace Dhokla now. How can we go about that? Which feels a little bit disrespectful to our boy who came in as that emergency sub. And I mean, truthfully, he hasn't been that bad to start off this split. I know we've seen some suspect Vayne play and other things, but we've seen suspect Vayne play out of most top laners this split. But it's a little bit sad to see yet another domestic talent go. And if it is an LCK Challenger player that comes in, you're going to have 6 of the 8 starting top laners in the league will be Korean.
Oh, turning back the clock, the LCS playing the greatest of hits, right? Let's just import. We're going to solve any problem type of thing, which, by the way, you can really classify, even if you wanted to be really critical of what contributions Dhokla was making for Lyon Gaming, I think you would classify it as a problem in the top side, or an area that needed that type of addressment. And yeah, it really does paint not a great picture. And especially, as you said, the way that Dhokla was able to step in and help this roster out in a very tight situation, short amount of time before that split got underway. To get this as your reward very soon after is not the way it should be. And again, the way that he performed would be one of those ones as well, that you should have had some type of buffer, some type of thing like that. Even with all that said, I don't think this is the right move to make for Lyon Gaming. And of course, as you laid out, not exactly an unfamiliar move within the LCS in the direction that teams have been going, which I think is frankly sad, because it is a little bit of that reverse, 1 step forward, 2 steps back type of situation from the old LCS, where we had been seeing a little bit more inclusion, a little bit more warm reception to be investing into North American talent, giving them their opportunities. And all of a sudden, rug pull, we're right back to bringing in the LCK Challenger import.
Yeah, and listen, we're sitting now where there are more LCK players than North American players within the LCS, and you saw dead last in goal percentage for Dhokla for top laners. This guy was the ultimate weak side top laner so far in this split. It's not like he was getting any attention from the team at any point.
No, you're not getting that heavy investment resource-wise at all when you're talking about how things were operating or how they were situated out within Lyon's structure. It really doesn't feel right, in so many type of ways, as far as what we have seen in the history of the LCS, what we have seen from Dhokla in this situation and how he jumps in. it just doesn't feel good to be making one of these type of moves. It's one of those ones where you can line up the check marks, line up the bullet points on piece of paper, and you can make that argument, and that can be valid. But it's absolutely one of those ones in practice, in real life, in real action. It doesn't sit right, and I don't think it ever will for anybody.
So who's gonna come in? And by the way, again, Surti coming in, the absolute mercenary, just to fill in for. Give this guy an actual starting spot on a good squad.
The roller coaster of it all, you're already, whatever the roller coaster journey was about how you're feeling about Dhokla, then it continues the ride. You're not getting off of it because, yes, there it is. Surti getting in and getting his opportunity only to just, oh, here's another rug pull. You're back out of here. Thanks for nothing type of thing.
At least he knows, it sounds like, going in, and this was from Surti himself, confirming that he's going to be playing the last 2 weekends and beyond that. I mean, at least give this guy a trial run. What if he pops off and plays amazingly, synergizes perfectly? Like, who's coming in? What's the academy or challenger LCK player that they want? You know, some of the top guys. T1 has 2 amazing young top laners in Guardian and Heitai. Are they going to come in? Does T1 want to make a little bit of cash? Or there's this Yanis fella on Nongshim who's been one of the premier top laners. Obviously, the precedent has been set with somebody like Thanatos coming in and dominating. But it's... as Dhokla, if you're playing this weekend, how are you going to put any kind of good performance together? Why would you even be motivated to play well?
The only motivation that you could find, and really is the only valid one in my mind at that point, is personal pride, really, at that point, right? Playing for yourself, playing for your legacy and what you can put out there, playing for, hopefully, an invitation, some type of involvement with another team at some point here, sees what you can offer and wants to pick you up, whether it is for that on the riff, off the riff, the vibes, the strategy, whatever it is, as Dhokla, you got to showcase that, I think. This weekend out has got to be that type of goal for yourself. And I think that's the same goal, frankly, for SRTTY. When he steps into the lineup, certainly for what he can do and what he should be looking to gain from a situation like this, if that, frankly, if it seems to be that there is this dead set idea on, all right, we've freed up an import slot, burn it. Let's use it. Let's check it in on someone else. I don't care what the situation is, what the player is, whatever all this is. I'm looking overseas with my eyes as far as talent. I'm not caring about anything else domestic. An unfortunate reality that we have been familiar with in the LCS.
Yeah, and what a tease for Surti to come in, because he's been on some bad Dignitas squads and been the standout. And then you're finally going to get to a good squad, and you get to play 2 weeks, and they say, thanks, bud, see you later.
I mean, again, the only silver lining, really, and this is a silver lining amongst doo-doo cloud type of situation, is finding, okay, what can I do? How can I elevate myself and show out for someone else, a different opportunity, whatever, use it as a tryout, and you get to say, well, in that tryout, you're getting inspired as your jungler. He's the one helping you. These type of things that you can envision in this situation being beneficial, despite, obviously, the downsides and limitations, restrictions that stepping into a situation like this.
Amidst all this chaos of mid-season moves, lost is the fact that we had a 3-game banger of a series with Gen.G on the Rift against KRX. K-Woon DRX is pushing Gen.G, needing Chovy to have some pop-off performances and taking them to 3 games. This isn't the Gen.G I know.
This is a series that I thought you would have seen out of the BFX DK type of matchup and what was going to happen there. Never would you really think this is going to come out of Gen.G. Even a Gen.G that has struggled and has been inconsistent to start out this second split in the LCK. This was absolutely a bit of an eye-opener. It is one that is, frankly, controlled at the end of the day, thanks to some strong performances, bounce back from your man Chovy in the mid lane, as you laid out. But man, this is absolutely pretty uncharted territory for Gen.G to be even struggling amongst this type of performance at this point of a split.
And there wasn't really one specific thing to look at, but there were underperformances. Again, I'll keep Chovy's name out of it because he was pretty rock solid, especially that Silas game, but almost everybody else on Gen.G, even as Keen is hitting 4,000 assists, the most ever for a top laner, especially Canyon in the bot lane, you're kind of going, Willer is gapping Canyon. Ruler and Duro, they look a bit lost. Like, what's going on?
This isn't like going to a fancy steakhouse or, your favorite restaurant and you have this envisioned meal and taste and it's so perfect. This is exactly it. And you hold it to whatever standard. And then, you go to some other place and it doesn't hold up quite like that. No, that isn't even this is like looking for the fanciest of ice creams. And then all of a sudden you get dealt regular vanilla, but even the regular vanilla taste doesn't taste, just right in this one. That's how it is for Gen.G when you say that, frankly, it didn't look all that bad, but there wasn't anything really specific to point out. And that's kind of one of the crazy things. A team like Gen.G is built to stand out, to have specific strengths and show it out and be that flashy team. We have not seen that at all in this split, and that is the alarming thing, I think, that it has gone on this many weeks. And again, it has been one of these situations where the only real logical thing that you could point to is an outside noise situation, and the outside noise situation is whatever's going on with Ruler and the tax evasion, whatever. And I think that is what is going on. Again, that is going to affect, obviously, Ruler specifically, but it has had this cascading effect for the rest of the team where, at least on the day, Chovy is able to perform out and stand out and be that difference maker. But we have not seen the difference making of this team, and that is frankly a very big underperformance in the LCK.
And we've got a tipping point on the weekend as Gen.G's matching up against D+, again, who have already 2-0 Gen.G earlier in the split, and now a few weeks later we see what the inner workings of this squad are. But the form Lucid is in right now, he's going to destroy Canyon if Willer's putting it to him.
It's kind of a crazy statement given where Gen.G has been in the past, and especially in this type of head-to-head against a D+ Kia, that you are leaning towards D+ Kia at this point, and especially saying they already have that head-to-head win against Gen.G. You add up this second one, you are absolutely head and shoulders going to be ahead of them in any type of situation as far as positioning for these groupings as we split out later in the LCK.
The only explanation is we've definitely timeline jumped in the LCK here for split number 2. But that is it today for League Unlock. Eric and Mark here with you, Stunners. Thanks for hanging out as always. We'll catch you on that flippity flip.